The world stopped spinning the moment Ellie saw her. There, under the golden chandeliers of the Azure Palms Resort's dining hall, sat a woman who looked exactly like her wife, Mara, her dead wife. Ellie's tray of martinis trembled in her hands, ice clinking as her heart thundered, threatening to shatter the fragile calm she'd built over the past 2 years. It was a balmy Miami evening, the kind where the ocean breeze carried the scent of salt and jasmine through the open terrace doors. Ellie, 28, had been working the evening shift at the luxury resort for 6 months, her life a quiet rhythm of serving wealthy guests and dodging their entitled demands. She was good at it, blending into the background, her short brown hair tucked neatly behind her ears, her smile practiced but never reaching her hazel eyes. Those eyes, once bright with love, had dulled since Mara's car accident 2 years ago. The crash had stolen everything: her wife, her joy, her future. Until tonight. The woman at table 12 was unmistakable. The same cascade of blonde hair, the same sharp cheekbones, the same laugh that used to light up Ellie's mornings. But this woman was alive, radiant, and leaning close to another woman, a sleek, confident brunette in a tailored blazer, her hand resting possessively on Mara's arm. Ellie's knees buckled. She steadied herself against a pillar, her tray nearly slipping. It can't be her. Mara's gone. I saw the casket. She forced herself to move, weaving through the crowded dining room, her heart a war drum. The resort was alive with the chatter of Miami's elite, tech moguls, influencers, and old money sipping overpriced wine. Ellie's job was to be invisible, but tonight, invisibility felt like a curse. She needed to get closer, to confirm what her mind refused to accept. As she approached table 12, the woman's voice hit her like a tidal wave. It was Mara's voice, soft, melodic, with that slight lilt that used to tease Ellie out of bad moods. The brunette was speaking now, her tone low and intimate, and Mara, or whoever this was, smiled in a way that twisted Ellie's gut. That smile belonged to her. To their late-night talks, their shared dreams of opening a little bakery by the beach. Ellie hovered nearby, pretending to adjust a napkin on an empty table. Her pulse raced as she stole glances. The woman's left hand, resting on the table, bore no wedding ring. Ellie's own ring, a simple silver band, still hung on a chain around her neck, hidden beneath her uniform. She hadn't taken it off since the funeral. "Ellie, you okay?" whispered her coworker, Jamal, as he passed with a tray of desserts. His dark eyes narrowed with concern. "Yeah," she lied, her voice barely a breath. "Just tired." Jamal didn't buy it, but he moved on. Ellie's gaze snapped back to the woman. The resemblance was uncanny, but there were differences. This woman's posture was more relaxed, her gestures more polished. Mara had been a free spirit, always a little messy, her laugh too loud for fancy places like this. Could grief have warped Ellie's memory? Or was this some cruel trick of the universe? She needed answers. She needed to know why this woman wore Mara's face, why she laughed with someone else, why she was here, alive, when Ellie had spent 2 years drowning in loss. She wiped her clammy hands on her apron and made a decision. She'd confront her. Not now, not in front of the brunette or the dining room full of guests, but soon. The night dragged on. Ellie served drinks, cleared plates, and smiled through the pain, her mind replaying every moment she'd shared with Mara. Their first date at a dive bar, stealing fries off each other's plates. Their wedding in a tiny Key West chapel, Mara's vows stumbling over her tears. The accident report, cold and clinical, that said Mara's car had veered off a rainy highway. By the time her shift ended at midnight, Ellie was a wreck. She clocked out and lingered by the staff exit, her eyes scanning the resort's sprawling grounds. The woman and her companion had left table 12 an hour ago, but Ellie had overheard them mention the bar by the infinity pool. She grabbed her jacket and headed there, her heart a tangle of hope and dread. The bar was a glittering oasis, all glass and neon, with guests draped in designer clothes. Ellie spotted them instantly. Mara's doppelganger and the brunette, sharing a cocktail under a string of fairy lights. The woman's laugh rang out again, and Ellie's chest tightened. She stepped closer, hiding behind a palm tree, her breath shallow. Then the woman turned, and their eyes met. For a split second, Ellie swore she saw recognition flicker in those familiar blue eyes. But the woman looked away, her smile faltering, and leaned into the brunette's shoulder. Ellie's world tilted. Was it Mara? A twin? A ghost? She didn't know, but she was going to find out. Ellie's sneakers sank into the soft sand as she lingered near the pool bar, her heart hammering so loudly she was sure it would betray her. The woman who looked like Mara was still there, her blonde hair catching the neon glow of the bar's lights, her laughter weaving through the hum of conversation. The brunette beside her, now sipping a martini, seemed oblivious to the storm brewing in Ellie's chest. She took a shaky breath and forced herself to move closer, blending into the crowd of late-night guests. Her waitress uniform was gone, swapped for a plain black hoodie and jeans, but she still felt exposed, like every glance from the woman would peel back her grief and lay it bare. She needed a plan, a way to approach without causing a scene. But her mind was a fog of questions. How is she here? Why didn't she come back to me? Who is that woman? Ellie found a spot at the bar's edge, close enough to hear snippets of their conversation. The brunette's name was Claire, her voice carrying the polished confidence of someone used to getting what she wanted. "You're glowing tonight, Lena," Claire said, her fingers brushing the blonde woman's wrist. Lena. The name hit Ellie like a slap. Not Mara. Lena. Her mind reeled, grasping for logic. A twin? A cousin? A coincidence so cruel it felt orchestrated? She ordered a soda to steady her hands, her eyes never leaving the woman. Lena's gestures were smoother than Mara's, her smile more guarded, but the resemblance was a knife twisting in Ellie's gut. She remembered the last time she'd seen Mara, really seen her. It was a rainy morning, Mara rushing out the door with a half-eaten bagel, promising to be home for dinner. Ellie had kissed her goodbye, not knowing it was the last time. The police report said Mara's car had skidded off the road, plunging into a ravine. No survivors. Ellie had clung to that report, to the certainty of loss, because it was all she had left. Now, that certainty was crumbling. Ellie's soda arrived, and she gripped the glass, her knuckles white. She needed to talk to Lena, but Claire's presence was a barrier. The two women were lost in each other, their heads close, their laughter a private melody. Ellie's jealousy flared, sharp and irrational. Mara had been hers, her wife, her home. This woman, Lena, had no right to wear her face, to steal her laugh. She was about to step forward, consequences be damned, when Lena stood, excusing herself to the restroom. This was her chance. Ellie's legs moved before her brain caught up, trailing Lena through the crowd. The resort's hallways were a maze of marble and mirrors, the air thick with the scent of hibiscus. She caught up just as Lena reached the restroom door. "Excuse me," Ellie said, her voice trembling but firm. Lena turned, and up close, the resemblance was even more devastating. Those blue eyes, the faint freckles across her nose. It was Mara, yet not. Lena's brow furrowed, her expression polite but wary. "Yes?" Ellie's throat tightened. She wanted to scream, to demand answers, but the words stuck. "I'm sorry. You just look like someone I used to know." Lena's face softened, but there was no spark of recognition. "I get that a lot," she said with a small laugh. "Must be one of those faces." Ellie's heart sank. Her name was Mara, she blurted, searching Lena's eyes for a reaction. She passed away 2 years ago." Lena's smile faded, replaced by something unreadable, pity, maybe, or discomfort. "I'm sorry for your loss," she said softly. "But I'm not her. I'm Lena." The words were a punch, but Ellie pressed on. "You're so much like her. It's uncanny. Were you ever in Miami before? Maybe you have family here." Lena hesitated, her fingers tightening around her clutch. "I've lived in a lot of places," she said vaguely. "But no family here. Just visiting with my friend." The pause before friend felt deliberate, and Ellie's stomach churned. She wanted to ask more, to demand Lena's story, but Claire appeared at the end of the hallway, her eyes narrowing as she spotted them. "Lena, everything okay?" "Yeah," Lena called back, her gaze lingering on Ellie. "Just chatting." She turned back to Ellie, her voice gentle but final. "I hope you find some peace." "Really?" And then she was gone, slipping back to Claire's side, leaving Ellie rooted to the spot. Her mind raced. Lena's denial didn't feel right. It was too quick, too polished. Ellie had seen something in her eyes, a flicker of something hidden. She returned to the bar, her soda forgotten, and watched them from a distance. Claire's hand rested on Lena's lower back, proprietary and intimate. Ellie's grief twisted into something darker, determination. She wasn't crazy. She wasn't imagining things. If Lena wasn't Mara, then who was she? And why was she here, living a life that should have been Mara's? Ellie pulled out her phone and opened a browser. She typed Lena Miami into the search bar, her fingers shaking. Nothing useful came up, but she wasn't giving up. Tomorrow, she'd dig deeper, check guest records, talk to coworkers, anything to uncover the truth. For now, she watched Lena laugh, her heart breaking all over again. Ellie barely slept. Her tiny apartment, a cramped studio overlooking Miami's neon-lit streets, felt suffocating as she lay awake, replaying Lena's face, her voice, that fleeting look in her eyes. By dawn, her grief had hardened into resolve. She needed answers, and she'd get them, no matter what it took. At the resort, the morning shift buzzed with the usual chaos. Ellie clocked in, her eyes scanning the lobby for any sign of Lena or Claire. She hadn't seen them at breakfast, but the resort's guest list was her next target. She'd overheard enough to know they were staying in one of the oceanfront suites, reserved for the ultra-wealthy. That meant access to records was tricky, but Ellie had an ally. Jamal, her coworker, was restocking the bar when she cornered him. "I need a favor," she whispered, glancing around to ensure no managers were nearby. He raised an eyebrow, his hands pausing on a crate of limes. "You look like you're plotting a heist, Ellie. What's up?" She hesitated, then leaned closer. "There's a guest. Lena. I need to know who she is, where she's from. Can you get me into the system?" Jamal's eyes softened with concern, but he didn't ask questions. He'd seen Ellie at her lowest, back when she'd started at the resort, still raw from Mara's death. "I can try," he said, "but you owe me coffee for a month." By mid-morning, Jamal had slipped her a printout from the front desk. Lena Harper, 29, from New York. No mention of Claire's last name, just a note that they'd booked the suite together. Ellie's heart sank. No record of a past in Miami. No hint of Mara. But the name Lena Harper felt like a clue, a thread to pull. She spent her lunch break hunched over her phone, searching social media. Lena Harper was a ghost online, no profiles, no photos, just a few vague mentions in New York event listings. One article from a charity gala described her as a private philanthropist, but the attached photo was grainy, useless. Ellie's frustration grew, but so did her determination. That evening, she spotted them again, Lena and Claire, dining on the terrace, the sunset painting the sky in hues of coral and gold. Ellie volunteered to cover the terrace tables, ignoring Jamal's worried glance. She needed to be close, to catch every word, every gesture. As she served their wine, she studied Lena. The way she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear was so like Mara it made Ellie's chest ache. But there were differences. Lena's nails were manicured, her posture straighter. Mara had been a whirlwind, always spilling coffee or tripping over her own feet. Lena was polished, almost too perfect. "Everything okay with the wine?" Ellie asked, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. Lena looked up, her blue eyes meeting Ellie's. For a moment, Ellie thought she saw a flicker of unease, but Lena smiled. Perfect, thank you. Claire, however, was less warm. We're fine, she said curtly, her gaze sharp, like she sensed Ellie's scrutiny. Ellie nodded and retreated, but not before catching a snippet of their conversation. You need to relax, Lena, Claire was saying. No one here knows you. You're safe. Safe. The word lodged in Ellie's mind like a splinter. Safe from what? From whom? She lingered nearby, clearing empty plates, her ears straining. Lena's voice was softer now, almost pleading. I just want to move forward, Claire.
Can we not talk about it?
Ellie's pulse quickened. Move forward from what? A past? A secret? She needed more, but Claire's presence was a wall, her eyes darting to Ellie every time she got too close. Later, as the terrace emptied, Ellie made a reckless decision. She followed them. They left the dining area and strolled toward the beach, their silhouettes blending into the twilight. Ellie kept her distance, her sneakers silent on the boardwalk. The ocean roared softly, masking her steps. They stopped near a cluster of palm trees, and Ellie crouched behind a dune, her heart pounding. Claire's voice was low, urgent. You can't keep looking over your shoulder, Lena. It's been 2 years. No one's coming for you. Lena's response was too quiet to hear, but her body language, arms crossed, head bowed, screamed fear. Ellie's mind raced. 2 years. The same time since Mara's death. Was it a coincidence? Or something more? She needed to get closer, to hear more, but a twig snapped under her foot. Claire's head whipped around, her eyes scanning the darkness. Who's there? She called, her voice sharp. Ellie froze, her breath caught in her throat. Lena turned too, her face pale in the moonlight. For a moment, their eyes locked, and Ellie swore she saw recognition again, deeper this time, like a memory surfacing. Then Claire took Lena's arm, pulling her away. Let's go, she said, and they disappeared into the resort's glow. Ellie stayed there, crouched in the sand, her mind a storm of questions. Lena wasn't just a stranger. She was hiding something big. And Ellie was going to find out what. Ellie's obsession grew like a fever. Every moment not spent working was consumed by Lena, her face, her voice, the secrets she seemed to carry. By the 3rd day, Ellie was a shadow of herself, her eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights, her hands shaky as she poured coffee for guests. But she couldn't stop, not when the truth felt so close. She started digging deeper, using every resource she could. She bribed a housekeeping friend, Maria, with a week's worth of tips to check Lena's suite for anything unusual. Maria returned with little, a few designer clothes, a locked suitcase, and a bottle of anxiety meds prescribed to Lena Harper. The meds were a clue, but not enough. Ellie needed more. She began tailing Lena and Claire whenever she could, her shifts at the resort becoming a cover for her investigation. She noticed patterns. Claire was always in control, guiding Lena's movements, answering for her when staff asked questions. Lena, though, seemed restless, her eyes often darting to the exits, like she was waiting for something or someone to appear. Ellie's breakthrough came by accident. On the 4th night, while clearing tables near the resort's library lounge, she overheard Claire on a phone call. Lena was at the bar, alone for once, and Claire was pacing near a window, her voice low but tense. No, she's fine, Claire said. She's not asking questions. But we need to move her soon. It's too exposed here. Ellie's blood ran cold. Move her?
Who was Claire talking to?
And why did Lena need to be moved? She ducked behind a pillar, her heart pounding, and strained to hear more. I know the risks, Claire snapped. But she's worth it. Just make sure the paperwork holds. Paperwork. The word stuck with Ellie. Was Lena in hiding? A witness protection program? A fugitive? Her mind spun with possibilities, each one more unsettling than the last. She needed to talk to Lena alone, without Claire's shadow looming over her. The opportunity came the next morning. Ellie was assigned to room service, delivering breakfast to the oceanfront suites. When she knocked on Lena's door, her heart was in her throat. Claire answered, her expression cold. "Leave it on the cart," she said, barely glancing at Ellie. But Lena was there, sitting on a balcony overlooking the sea, her blonde hair loose in the breeze. Ellie seized her chance. "I can set it up out there," she said, pushing past Claire before she could object. On the balcony, she arranged the tray, her hands trembling as she poured coffee. Lena looked up, her blue eyes tired but curious. "You're the one from the other night," she said softly. "The one who mentioned Mara." Ellie's breath caught. She glanced at the door. Claire was inside, on another call. This was her moment. "Yeah," she said, keeping her voice low. "I can't shake it, Lena. You look so much like her. My wife. She died 2 years ago, but seeing you it's like she's back." Lena's face paled, her fingers tightening around her coffee cup. "I told you I'm not her," she said, but her voice wavered, lacking the conviction of before. Ellie leaned closer, her voice urgent. "If you're not her, then why do you seem so scared? I heard Claire last night. She said you need to move. What's going on, Lena?" Lena's eyes widened, a flash of panic crossing her face. "You don't know what you're talking about," she whispered, but her hands were shaking now, coffee sloshing onto the table. "I know you're hiding something," Ellie pressed, her voice barely audible. "And I think it has to do with Mara. Please, just tell me the truth." For a moment, Lena looked like she might break, her lips parting as if to speak. But then Claire's voice cut through the air. "Lena, we need to go." She was at the door, her eyes narrowing as she took in the scene. Lena stood abruptly, knocking over her cup. "I'm fine," she said, her voice strained. She turned to Ellie, her expression a mix of fear and regret. "Leave it alone, please." Claire ushered Lena inside, shooting Ellie a look that could freeze fire. Ellie stood frozen on the balcony, her mind racing. Lena's reaction wasn't denial, it was fear. She was hiding something, and Claire was part of it. That night, Ellie did something she never thought she'd do. She used Jamal's login to access the resort's security footage. It was a risk, grounds for firing, maybe worse, but she was past caring. She scanned hours of footage, her eyes burning, until she found it. Lena and Claire in the lobby, 2 nights ago. Lena had dropped something, a small, folded piece of paper. A bellhop picked it up, but not before the camera caught a glimpse. Ellie zoomed in, her heart racing. It was a driver's license. The name was blurry, but the face was unmistakable. Mara's face. She sat back, her breath shallow. It wasn't a twin. It wasn't a coincidence. Lena was Mara or someone pretending to be her. And Ellie was going to prove it. The driver's license haunted Ellie. She couldn't unsee it, Mara's face, staring back from the grainy footage, a ghost in a world that had moved on without her. By the 5th day, Ellie was unraveling, her shifts at the resort a blur of forced smiles and trembling hands. She needed to confront Lena, but Claire's constant presence made it impossible. She started with the bellhop, a nervous kid named Theo, who worked the night shift. "You picked up something in the lobby a couple nights ago," Ellie said, cornering him in the staff room. "A license? What did you do with it?" Theo's eyes darted around, his voice low. "I gave it to the lady, the blonde one. She was freaking out, said it was important." "Did you see the name?" Ellie pressed, her heart pounding. He shook his head. "Didn't look. She tipped me $20 to keep quiet." Ellie's stomach twisted. Lena or Mara had been desperate to keep that license hidden. She thanked Theo and slipped away, her mind racing. If it was Mara's license, why was Lena carrying it? And why was she so afraid of being found? She needed more than footage. She needed proof. That night, she stayed late, volunteering for cleanup duty to access the resort's lost and found logs. If the license had been turned in briefly, there might be a record. She found nothing, but the absence only fueled her suspicion. Someone was covering tracks. The next morning, Ellie saw her chance. Lena was alone at the resort spa, booking a massage while Claire was at a business meeting off-site. Ellie swapped shifts with a coworker and loitered near the spa's entrance, her pulse racing. When Lena emerged, her hair damp and her expression unguarded, Ellie stepped into her path. "Lena," she said, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. "We need to talk."
Now.
Lena froze, her eyes wide. "I told you I'm not who you think." "I saw the license," Ellie cut in, her voice low but fierce. "It had Mara's face on it. My wife's face. You're going to tell me what's going on, or I'm calling the police." Lena's face crumpled, a mix of fear and something deeper. Guilt, maybe. She glanced around, then grabbed Ellie's arm, pulling her into a quiet alcove near the spa. "Keep your voice down," she hissed. "You don't know what you're messing with." "Then tell me," Ellie said, her eyes burning with tears. "Tell me why you have her face, her voice. Tell me why I'm losing my mind." Lena's hands shook as she ran them through her hair. "I didn't want this," she whispered. "I didn't want to hurt anyone." Ellie's heart stopped. "Are you Mara?" she asked, her voice breaking. Lena's eyes filled with tears, but she shook her head.
No.
"I'm not. But I knew her." The words hit like a freight train. Ellie staggered back, her breath shallow. "Knew her?
How?"
Lena hesitated, her voice barely audible. "I can't tell you here. It's not safe. Claire, she's protecting me, but she's also controlling things. Meet me tonight by the pier at midnight. I'll explain everything." Ellie's mind screamed to demand answers now, but Lena's fear was real, palpable. "Why should I trust you?" she asked. "Because I loved her too," Lena said, her voice breaking. "Mara, I loved her." Before Ellie could respond, Lena turned and hurried away, disappearing into the spa's crowd. Ellie stood frozen, her world spinning. Loved her?
How?
When? The revelation was a knife, slicing through the fragile hope she'd clung to. That night, Ellie waited by the pier, the ocean's roar drowning out her racing thoughts. She'd told no one. Not Jamal, not Maria. This was between her and Lena. The moon hung low, casting silver light across the waves. At 12:05, Lena appeared, alone, her face pale in the moonlight. "I don't have long," Lena said, her voice urgent. "Claire thinks I'm in our room." "Tell me," Ellie said, her voice raw.
Who are you?
"What do you know about Mara?" Lena took a shaky breath. "My name's Lena Harper. I met Mara 3 years ago, in New York. We were together. Briefly. Before she met you." Ellie's knees buckled. She grabbed the pier's railing, her vision blurring. "Together? She never mentioned you." "She wouldn't have," Lena said, her eyes distant. "It was short, intense. She ended it, said she needed to find herself. Then I heard she'd moved to Miami, met someone."
You.
Ellie's chest tightened. Mara had a past she'd never shared. A past with this woman. "Then why do you look like her?" she demanded. Lena's laugh was bitter. "I don't. Not really. Grief plays tricks, Ellie. You see her in me because you want to. But the license that was hers. I kept it after the accident. A memento." Ellie's heart cracked. "You knew she died?" Lena nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I was in Miami when it happened. I came to the funeral, from a distance. I saw you. You were broken. I couldn't face you." Ellie wanted to scream, to shake Lena, but her grief was too heavy. "Why are you here now? With Claire?" Lena's eyes darkened. "Claire's my lawyer. I'm in trouble. I can't say more. But I'm not Mara, Ellie. I'm sorry." Headlights flashed in the distance. Lena stiffened. "I have to go. Don't follow me. Please." She ran off, leaving Ellie alone with the waves and a truth she couldn't accept. Ellie stood on the pier, The ocean's roar mocking her as Lena's words echoed in her mind. I loved her too. The confession was a wound, raw and bleeding, but it wasn't the whole truth. Lena was hiding something, her fear, her evasions, the way she'd fled at the sight of headlights. Ellie's grief was no longer just pain. It was a fire, driving her to uncover the full story. She returned to her apartment, her mind a storm of questions. Mara had loved someone before her, someone she'd never mentioned. The betrayal stung, but it was the mystery of Lena's presence that consumed her. Why was Lena in trouble? What was Claire hiding? And why did Lena have Mara's license? Ellie spent the next day digging. She used her breaks to search public records, combing through old news articles about Mara's accident. She found a report, a single car crash, no witnesses, no foul play suspected. But one detail stood out, a witness statement from a gas station clerk who'd seen Mara hours before the crash, acting nervous and looking over her shoulder. Ellie's stomach churned. Mara had been afraid. Of what? She needed to talk to Lena again, but Claire was a shadow, always watching. Ellie's only chance was to catch Lena off guard. She remembered Lena's spa routine. Every morning, she booked a private session. Claire never joined her. It was a risk, but Ellie was running out of time. The next morning, she slipped into the spa's staff entrance, borrowing a masseuse's uniform from a locker. Her heart pounded as she navigated the dim hallways, the scent of lavender and eucalyptus thick in the air. She found Lena in a private room, lying face down on a table, her eyes closed. Lena, Ellie whispered, closing the door. Lena's eyes snapped open, her body tensing. Ellie, what are you doing here? I need the truth, Ellie said, her voice low but firm. You're not telling me everything. Why did you have Mara's license? What trouble are you in? Lena sat up, clutching the towel to her chest. Her eyes were wide, haunted. You don't understand, she said. If I tell you, you're in danger too. I don't care, Ellie said, stepping closer. Mara was my wife. I deserve to know. Lena's shoulders slumped, her voice barely a whisper. Mara didn't die in an accident, she said. She was running. From someone. I don't know who. She called me that night, frantic, said she'd made a mistake, gotten involved with the wrong people. She begged me to help her disappear. Ellie's world tilted. Disappear? You're saying she's alive? Lena shook her head, tears streaming down her face.
No.
I tried to help her. I gave her money, a place to hide. But they found her. The crash, it wasn't an accident. Someone made sure she didn't make it out. Ellie's knees gave out. She sank to the floor, her breath ragged. Who did this? I don't know, Lena said, her voice breaking. She wouldn't tell me.
She said it was safer that way.
After she died, I got scared. I ran. Changed my name, my life. Claire's been helping me stay hidden. Ellie's mind reeled. Mara, murdered? It was too much, too impossible. But Lena's fear, her grief, it was real. Why didn't you go to the police? Ellie demanded. Because I don't know who to trust, Lena said. And neither should you. Whoever did this, they're still out there. A knock at the door made them both jump. Lena? Claire's voice, sharp and suspicious. Lena's eyes widened. Go, she whispered.
Now.
Ellie slipped out through a side door, her heart racing. She hid in a supply closet, her mind spinning. Mara hadn't just died. She'd been hunted. And Lena was running from the same threat. Ellie's grief was no longer just loss. It was rage, a burning need for justice. She spent the rest of the day piecing it together. Mara had been involved with someone dangerous, someone powerful enough to stage a crash, to erase her life. Ellie thought of Claire, her controlling demeanor, her cryptic phone calls. Was she protecting Lena, or keeping her silent? That night, Ellie made a decision. She couldn't trust Lena's story, not fully. She needed evidence. She remembered the locked suitcase in Lena's suite. If there was proof, it might be there. She waited until midnight, when the resort was quiet, and used Jamal's master key to slip into the suite. The room was dark, the air heavy with the scent of Lena's perfume. Ellie's hands shook as she pried open the suitcase. Inside was a burner phone, a stack of cash, and a single photo, Mara and Lena laughing together years ago. Ellie's heart broke all over again. But then she heard footsteps. Claire's voice, cold and sharp, came from the doorway. "What the hell are you doing?" Ellie turned, the photo clutched in her hand, and saw Claire's eyes glint with something dangerous. Ellie froze, the photo of Mara and Lena trembling in her hand. Claire stood in the doorway, her silhouette framed by the hallway's dim light, her eyes cold and unyielding. "Put that down," Claire said, her voice low, dangerous. Ellie's heart pounded, but she didn't move. "What's going on, Claire? Why are you keeping Lena on a leash? What do you know about Mara's death?" Claire stepped into the room, closing the door behind her. "You're in over your head, Ellie. Walk away."
Now.
"No," Ellie said, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her chest. "Mara was my wife. Someone killed her, and you know who. Tell me." Claire's laugh was sharp, humorless. "You think you can play detective? You're a waitress. Go back to your trays and your tips." Ellie's grip tightened on the photo. "I found the burner phone. The cash. You're not just Lena's lawyer. You're hiding her. From what?" Claire's eyes narrowed, but before she could answer, the door opened again. Lena stood there, her face pale, her eyes wide with panic. "Claire, stop," she said. "She deserves to know." Claire's jaw tightened. "Lena, don't." But Lena stepped forward, her voice shaking but resolute. "Ellie, I didn't tell you everything. Mara was involved with a group, a network. They laundered money through art deals, high-end resorts like this one. She wanted out, but they don't let people walk away." Ellie's breath caught. "And you? Were you part of it?" Lena shook her head.
No.
"But I knew too much. After Mara died, they came for me. Claire, she got me out. New identity, new life. But it's not over. They're still watching." Ellie's mind raced, piecing it together. The resort, the wealthy guests, Claire's phone calls, it all fit. "Who are they?" she demanded. Claire stepped forward, her voice icy. "You don't want to know. And if you're smart, you'll drop this." But Ellie was done being smart. She was done being broken. "I'm not dropping it," she said. "Mara deserved better. And so do I." Lena's eyes filled with tears. "I'm so sorry, Ellie. I loved her. I never wanted this." Something in Lena's voice, the raw, aching honesty, cracked Ellie's anger. She saw the woman before her, not as Mara's ghost, but as someone else who'd loved her, who'd lost her. "Help me," Ellie said. "Help me find them." Claire grabbed Lena's arm. "We're leaving. Tonight." "No," Lena said, pulling free. "I'm tired of running." Ellie's right. Mara deserved better. The room fell silent, the weight of their shared loss binding them. Claire's face softened, just for a moment, before hardening again. "You're both idiots," she said. "But fine. If you want to do this, we do it my way." Over the next week, Ellie, Lena, and Claire worked in secret. Claire's connections, shady but useful, helped them trace the network to a shell company tied to the resort's owner, a reclusive billionaire named Victor Crane. Ellie remembered seeing him once, a cold man with sharp eyes, always surrounded by security. They gathered evidence, bank records, emails, even a recording of a hushed conversation between Crane and a guest. It was enough to expose the operation, but dangerous. Claire warned them. "If we do this, there's no going back." Ellie didn't hesitate. She'd lost Mara, but she could still fight for her. They sent the evidence to a journalist friend of Claire's, someone outside the network's reach. Within days, the story broke, headlines screaming about money laundering, corruption, and murder. Crane was arrested. The resort shut down. Ellie stood on the pier one last time, the resort dark behind her. Lena was there, her face softer now, unburdened. I'm sorry I wasn't her, she said. Ellie shook her head, a sad smile tugging at her lips. You loved her. That's enough. They parted ways, Lena to a new life, Ellie to her own. She took off the silver ring around her neck, holding it in her palm. Mara was gone, but her love, her fight, lived on in Ellie. She tossed the ring into the ocean, not as a goodbye, but as a promise, to live, to heal, to carry Mara's light forward. The waves carried the ring away, and Ellie walked into the dawn, her heart bruised but whole, ready to begin again.